Good morning, WordPress users, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, welcome. I'm glad to have you here with us today. This is June 1st, 2016, and here on Blab, this is WordPress Wednesday, where for the next hour, we're going to be looking at a couple of interesting topics. Of course, they're about WordPress. As usual, comments, questions, issues, and critiques are always welcome. Feel free to post in the chat bar on the side. And if there's time, I'll open up the seats and you can jump in and share if you wish. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Steve and I'm known online by many as the WordPress Wizard. I have also been called the Coach's Coach and the Web Guy for Coaches. I'm the founder of wizardsplace.com and you can contact me through that site or by email, and I've posted those links in the sidebar. I'll post them again a little bit later. As a published author, WordPress instructor, and online presence developer, I earn my entire living right here on the web, and mostly by helping others do the same. I work with people just like you who are serious about moving their business forward, who need to expand their marketing reach, or who just want to develop a successful online presence so they can work less and earn more. I'm experienced, approachable, and affordable, and the first half-hour consultation is always free. Contact me today to begin your journey from website to wealth. And we're going to get started today, taking a little different approach on some things. I want to talk about a plugin, a new plugin that is kicking around. And it's not all that new. It's not like it came out last week. But and it's certainly new to me. I just discovered it, and I'm kind of excited about it. It's called Inbound Brew, and I'm going to share a few links with you. First one, of course, is where you can find it in the WordPress repository. It is free. I will mention that it looks like there are going to be 2 levels of paid plugin that are going to come along. That's what their website says right now. I don't know much about that, whether it's going to happen or not, but they seem to be working pretty aggressively on it. And it looks like it will have some pretty interesting features, though it's going to be a fairly healthy price for what they're going to be offering. You can have a look at that on their website, and I'll get you there. Here's the plugin site itself. I'll pass the link along in the sidebar. Worth having a look, read all about it there, and pretty good information actually in the repository page as well, more than most plugins have. Quite surprising and quite refreshing to see that they're putting a serious amount of work into sharing what they do, as well as creating the plugin itself. So that's good. I've installed the plugin now twice. No problems. 2 completely different sites, a different mix of other plugins. One of them has quite a number of plugins, including a membership setup, and the other one has my usual mix of plugins. It's a new website that I'm building for someone, and I tried it on there just to see. And in both cases, no conflicts. Significant number of major plugins. And no conflicts at all, so I was very pleased about that. No problems with the installation. It's just there and it works. The only thing that I caution you, welcome Cindy, glad to see you. Glad you joined us. We're just getting started, and I'm talking about Inbound Brew, and I've provided a few links in the sidebar there as I'm covering some material. And I'm just going to bump your level to co-host there, Cindy. If you don't mind, you can keep an eye on things as we have more people drop in. And mentioning about the installation of the Inbound Brew plugin, which went without a hitch. And the only caveat that I have is that there are some of the settings that are preset in a way that you might not want. There might be some things you want to turn off initially or completely, going forward, just because they're not things, not parts of it you want to use. So don't just install it and leave it and then be surprised. Install it and go through the settings and make sure they are set the way you want. The settings are actually quite good. It's a kind of a general setup out of the box that will suit most people and not be a problem. It's something that you can just leave as it is, but you want to be sure that it is exactly what you want. So I think that's important. So that's the repository link, the plugin link itself, and then the blog link I added. And their blog is pretty powerful, pretty well stocked with a lot of good information. Worth taking the time to go through. They write about other things besides their own plugin, but they have some good material you can search for. And they also are in the business of creating other products, so you may want to look around and see what they do there as well. Now, some of the things that are in the plugin that are really quite good that you want to look at. One is the ability to automatically push to social media sites. At present, the choices are Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, which I suspect are the three most popular sites for communicating directly with people. Whether they'll be adding more in the future, I don't know, but it looks like they're working on that. So hoping that's going to come out in the free plugin. It may be kept for one of the commercial plugins if they decide to do that. But those three anyway are excellent to get your post material on your website, on your blog, automatically pushed and shared there. Other plugins can do that, do it quite well, but to have it built into this one plugin is quite good. You can create custom calls to action, and that's really quite interesting. I'm just beginning to play with that, and I'm, it's new, and so and it's quite involved. It's easy enough to do, but trying to think about where I want to use it and how I want to use it, I'll be reporting more on that later. But it is a powerful function, and I know a lot of people have trouble with calls to action. They're, even putting something at the end of every post, they either forget about it or they just don't know how to go about it. And I've suggested in our blogging series on Mondays, I've suggested that one of the best ways is to simply ask people to comment. You write your post, whatever it is you write, and then you can say, what are your opinions on this? Please comment below. As simple as that is a good call to action to get some interaction with your readers. But this offers a whole lot of neat features, and as I say, I'm just starting to play with it, so I can't really comment on that part yet. Create custom landing pages, and that has been a struggle for a lot of people, myself included. I've used several different plugins for this, and I've not been happy. In fact, in Canvas theme, which I use extensively, I actually wrote my own template to be able to have a landing page structure without the header and the footer. In most of my landing pages, I leave the header and the footer. I'm not a big advocate of the policy that says on your landing page, you only want to give them one way out, and that's to click on the call to action button. You want them to buy what you're buying or sign up what you're signing them into, and that should be the only way out. Well, I'm not a big advocate of that. I'm not into high pressure or push marketing, and that just seems to me to be the ultimate of that. So I'm quite happy to have a menu and a header on the page, or even on a landing page, have a set of links at the bottom of the page that includes a contact and a website link. You may want to take your branding off of the landing page, because you may be branding it separately with your product. And so I can understand those kinds of processes, and that's why I created the template for myself in Canvas, so that I could have a truly blank page, not just a full width page, but a blank page. No header, no footer, no menu, nothing on the page until I start putting what I want on it. And that was my ultimate solution for Canvas, because all of the landing page plugins that I tried, and there were some fairly good ones, but either they had issues, technical issues, bugs and problems, and were difficult, or they conflicted with other plugins that I knew were good plugins, and therefore the conflict was in the call to action plugin itself, or the landing page plugin, or they simply stopped being produced or upgraded. The person who created them didn't stick with them, and there's especially in the free plugin area, the GPL area, and we'll see as I progress into the other half of this topic later on. I'm a pretty big advocate of that, and I found that the only really good ones were paid ones, and the price for them was very expensive, and they were not GPL compliant, so I didn't choose to use them. This plugin seems to work. It seems to deliver some really good quality landing pages that you can use. And again, I've just started using it, so I'm digging in further, and we'll have to see what's going on with that. But and I'll be reporting more, as I said. Welcome, Peter. I did see you drop in there, and I should have paused to welcome you a moment ago. And I see Law of Success dropped in and dropped out, so they're busy on their way successful, I guess. We're talking about the inbound Brew plugin, and I did post up in the sidebar there some links you may want to have a look at and pick up on. And we're talking about some of the features of it, and the next one is that it has a built-in form creator. I'm not a big user of forms on my sites, and when I do create forms, they're usually fairly basic. I don't get into really elaborate forms, and I have been using the form creator in Jetpack for real basic forms. Works lovely, and easy to set up, easy to configure, and I've liked that. But it's minus some features that I would like, and I do use some of the bigger form plugins, elaborate ones, but it's a little bit of overkill for the forms that I create. So, if you're not creating elaborate forms, page-long forms, and if you don't need mathematical calculations and if then else structures in them, some of these bigger form plugins are just too much load on your system for what you're actually using. You may not even think about it because you put in the plugin and you use it for smaller forms and it works fine, but there's a lot of back-end stuff going on anyway that's actually impacting your server load. And if you're on a shared hosting situation, at some point you're going to be contacted by your host to be told that you're using too many server resources. And I know you bought the account and it said unlimited domains and unlimited drive space and unlimited bandwidth. Well, those are lies. Got to tell you that. First of all, it can't be unlimited bandwidth because the bandwidth can't be any bigger than the data pipe that they have going to that location. And that's also being shared simultaneously by a lot of other people, so it can't even be that full size. So it isn't unlimited bandwidth. That's just logical. You have to understand that. It just means that they're not going to penalize you for using the bandwidth that's available. The other part about unlimited drive space, if they're using systems where they're using multiple servers and shared hosting or cloud hosting across multiple opportunities, then it might be unlimited drive space. But really, you're going to find that in most cases, you're limited to whatever the drive size is on the server, shared between the number of hosts or a number of accounts that are on that server. And then the third area is the number of domains. And what they really mean is the number of domains that you have. You can put up multiple websites and domains. But if you start reselling domains or letting friends use your account and setting up websites for them, and the domains are owned by other people, you're likely to run into some problems with that. They have reseller accounts for that, and your account, if you read the terms, is for your personal use. I've just been asked to service a couple of accounts for people who are on multiple or on accounts that say unlimited domains, and they've been actually setting up websites for their friends and charging them for it, and the domains are actually owned by their friends, registered to their friends, and they're going to run into some problems with that whenever it's discovered. Barbara, welcome. Glad to have you with us. And we're talking about a couple of things today, most particularly inbound Brew. And I've got off onto a little bit about hosting here. And but I want to point out the other thing that they don't tell you in your hosting accounts, and that is that they monitor server cycles or processor cycles on your server, and how much of the server processor's power you're using on your account. And when you're on a shared hosting system, that's critical, because if you take more of the server power than your share, you're impacting the other accounts. And if you use a whole lot of processing power, that slows down everybody else's account, and the other people don't like it. And sometimes they call tech support to say, why is my system running slow? And tech support checks to see what's going on, and they see that an inordinate share of processing power is coming from your accounts, and that'll start them looking into your accounts. And if they found that that's been a regular thing, all of that is logged, by the way, folks, and the technicians can go back and see what's been happening on your service. And if that's a regular thing and not just a spike, you'll likely get a letter or an email or even a phone call from your service people who will tell you that you've got to upgrade your account or take off some of the stuff that's doing these things. Sometimes, and this has happened more often than I like to see, by some of the big accounts that the big companies that you would think would be a little more interested in their customers. But I have dealt with several accounts, especially recently, where the person's account has been shut down. It's simply been stopped. They've been banned from using their account. It's turned off. They go to, if they go to their domain, they get a screen that says this account has been suspended. I mean, it doesn't even come up with a nice maintenance screen or something that says, undergoing technical issues or something. It says this account has been suspended. It makes you look like a criminal, and that's a little scary. So you want to be sure. If you're not sure about this, you don't believe me about this, ask around and you'll find out. But if you go to WP Engine, which is one of the fully managed WordPress hosting locations, they're fairly expensive. They do very good work. I've used them. I've stopped using them though for my client sites and for my own sites. I don't need them for my own sites. I don't need to have my WordPress sites managed for me because I can manage WordPress. But for some of my clients, putting them on a managed server was a great idea. But I've stopped using them because they advertise unlimited space and unlimited bandwidth and all these typical things that all the sites do. But I don't think they actually advertise it on their sign up page where they're trying to get you. But if you ask them, they'll tell you they charge extra for server cycles, and they have a formula, and you're allowed a certain amount. And if you read the fine print carefully, when you are signing up, you'll find that it speaks to that issue. It doesn't put it in quite the ways, that makes it clear to a person who doesn't understand. But basically, they charge you for more service use. And to put this into perspective, maybe so that people who aren't technical can understand it, rent a car, at Enterprise Car Rentals on a weekend when they have a weekend special. And they advertise, a 3-day weekend special, come in Friday, bring it back Monday morning, and you get your car and you get unlimited mileage. That's really cool. Unlimited mileage for a flat rate for the weekend. So if you're going, to visit somebody, you're driving a distance, you'll find that You don't have to keep track of the mileage and think about what it's going to cost you at the end of the session. Only you go back in, and the guy checks under the hood, and you see there's this funny little gauge there. And he says, you say, well, what are you checking for? He says, oh, I'm just checking the revolutions on the engine. We charge, we give you unlimited mileage, but we track the revolution cycles on the engine. And, RPM, some people have tachometers on their car that measure RPM. And that's the engine turning around, and if you're sitting idling with the engine, it's still turning, even though you're not adding mileage to the car, to the odometer. And the faster you go, the faster the engine revolves, the pistons, working up and down and turning the crankshaft. And so they're monitoring that. That can very easily be monitored. And the car company, now Enterprise, I mentioned them, they don't do this, by the way, just so you know. I'm just using that as a familiar example. But you could go in there on the Monday morning to return your car and find out they're charging you an extra $200 or $300 on the rental bill, and they never told you about that. You wouldn't be too happy. Well, that's what's happening at a lot of these hosting companies, and it comes as a real surprise to people. So don't, find that as a unexpected thing if it does happen to you. And you probably have a friend that it has happened to if you ask around. Ask in a couple of the Facebook groups that you frequent and see what other people have to say. So I've actually left a couple of places because of that, and I pulled the accounts off of WP Engine, which is a very good hosting service, but I pulled them off just because they got busy. They were successful with their e-commerce stores, and their success was being penalized immediately by the company for the amount of traffic they were having, causing more activity on the server and using more server cycles. And yet it was nothing that the particular site wasn't capable of handling. So what they're doing is they're offering you unlimited, only it fits in a box. Well, what's that got to do with Inbound Brew? Here's this built-in forms function along with the built-in landing page function and so on. You are getting all of this in one plugin and doing it well and sharing the same libraries and making things happen together. So it's reducing the amount of server cycles. When you can pull out plugins, one of the problems with having multiple plugins is not that the plugins are bad, and not that the features they offer are bad, and not even that they conflict. It's just that each plugin is always busy working and drawing on the same things, multiple times that you could otherwise get by, having that all in one plugin. And in fact, some people talk about Jetpack and mention how it's got bloat because it has all these services that you're not using. Less bloat than if you have, say you're using 5 of the services in Jetpack and not all of the rest. There's no bloat for the ones that you're not using. There's actually less bloat than if you took those same 5 services and put them into 5 separate plugins. So it's a lack of understanding of how the things work in the background. And Inbound Brew impresses me for what they're doing and the various things they've tied together that will allow you to eliminate some plugins by delivering what they offer. Now, again, the caveat there is, do they deliver what you need? And so you want to look at that. They have a landing page creator, but it may not produce the kind of landing pages you want. And you may have another plugin that does create the landing pages you want. So you have to decide whether you can make the adjustment or not, and whether the gain is worthwhile. So that's good. Cindy says that she has 16 domains registered on her hosting package that is unlimited with HostGator. I have never had a problem. I have some that use a lot of bandwidth, and they have a lot of media on them. You just haven't reached the limit. HostGator is one of the places that does limit that, and you haven't reached the limit. 16 is not a big number. I'm seeing people, some people who are into the network marketing sort of thing, or big on affiliate marketing and various things, and they've got into the the idea that's being sold around that you can set up 100 websites and build your own link farm, linking back and forth, and do all these things that will boost your SEO and increase your business. And they often run into problems. 16 with normal use. I'm familiar with some of your sites, Cindy, and I'm not really sure that when you say they use a lot of bandwidth, I don't think they're actually using what I would call a lot of bandwidth. So you're probably okay. And the key there, too, is that they're all your own domains. So, that is good. If you are going to share your hosting space with a friend, register the domain for them or get it transferred to your domain account if they've already registered it. Make sure you have an agreement with them for transferring it back if they want it back. But, do that, and then you're not going to have any trouble in that particular area either, because it'll show up as being your own domain. Moving along with the Inbound Brew plugin, they have a lead capture and management system built in. I have not tried that at all yet, but it seems to interface with their custom landing pages and some other things, and it looks very good. It says easily managed SEO compliance, and it looks to me like it will mean you can do away with all-in-one SEO or Yoast SEO, and that is a situation that is perhaps good again from a number of plugin count situation. The problem with that, of course, is that Yoast SEO is a great training plugin for people who are not familiar with SEO. And used properly, it will help them understand how they are, best served by using SEO properly in their posts and pages. And it's easy to understand that with Yoast. So probably for new websites, new people, I'll continue to use Yoast as a training tool, and then once the person is comfortable with the process, I'll just turn that off and rely on the Inbound Brew, assuming that I'm going to go ahead with it. At this point, it looks like I will, because it seems to be a pretty good plugin. Welcome, Catherine. Glad you could join us. We're talking about Inbound Brew plugin, and it looks pretty good. You may want to have a look at the front end of the replay to get up to this point. Covered a few things that might be useful for you. The plugin creates and manages your XML sitemap. That's cool. That'll do away with either a separate plugin for that or the Yoast plugin or any of the other plugins you're using for SEO that do create that. So that's good. And I see Renee just joined us. Welcome. And it manages your robots.txt file. A lot of people don't know what the robots file is. You should have one. It's not a guarantee, but the robots text file is a file that allows you to control where the bots, the search engine servers that scour the internet and index your website and the new content and so on. It lets you control where they go, so that if you have pages that you don't want indexed, you can tell them not to index them. The problem with it is that not all robot processes follow the file. They have to agree to follow it. It's not something that you produce that's kind of a security thing. It's like putting a sign on your door. If your doorbell's broken, you put a sign on your door that says, "Please knock, doorbell broken." The person coming up to your door has to read that sign and knock. If they stand there punching the doorbell button because they didn't bother to read the sign, you can't help that. That's exactly the way your robots.txt file works. The robots come to your site. They have to read it. They have to agree to follow what you say and do it. It doesn't prevent them from indexing pages. And certainly the spam bots don't read it. So it's there. But you should have one. Most people don't even know about it. And they don't have one, or they maybe have a very basic one. So this allows a little more control. And I kind of like what they're doing with that. So that's a small thing. And then it creates and manages the 301 and the 302 redirects, something that everybody should be doing. You should never delete a page from your website without thinking about the impact of doing so. If the page has been around for a while, if it's indexed, if perhaps people are linking to it from their own sites, you've shared that information and you're going to delete it, then there's all that outlying material that's coming back to that page, and people will get a page not found error when they get there, what's known as a 404 error. And usually that's a fairly generic page that comes up and says, 404 error, page not found, and it leaves them hanging. In WordPress sites, that 404 error comes up as a body within a WordPress page, so at least they have the header and the menu, they know where they are, and they can use the menu to go elsewhere. But you still can confuse people, you can lose the value of those incoming links, and because people following those links who get to that 404 error say, this person doesn't look after their website, I'm not going to bother hanging out here, I'll go somewhere else. And search engines, of course, don't like them. So being able to manage those problems with a redirect is the right way to do it, so that when you delete your page, you actually redirect that URL so that it goes to another page that you appoint as the place for it to go, something that relates to it. People often don't realize that if you rewrite a post, if you take a blog post and create a new post so that you can rewrite it, copy it over, and then you delete the old one, that new post has a new URL and all the links to the old one are gone. So you want to redirect the links to the old one to that new one you're writing. Or if you're updating a post and you're not just modifying the existing post, but you're thinking, I want to rewrite this and make it modern and it's so new, I might as well have a new post that's currently dated to let people know that it's, it's the right thing. And again, you delete that old post. You lose in doing that. So you want to have a plugin that provides the ability for you to redirect. This again is something that I would think should be built into the core of WordPress, but for whatever reason they choose not to do so, opting instead to allow plugin manufacturers to create something for it. Yoast used to offer it in their free plugin, and they took it out, keeping it for their paid plugin only. There are other plugins that do it exclusively. I use one myself right now, but you can find just it's awkward to have, again, that extra plugin for it. So having it built into this inbound Brew plugin is kind of a nice thing. I see Mario dropped in, and I think he may have dropped out already, and Buddy's here. Welcome, Buddy. Glad to see you. And again, a question here that looks interesting. How would changing your business name or website name impact an already established SEO instead of deleting? Well, if you changed your business name completely, for example, one of my sites for my business is from website to wealth.com, and it's a doing business as area of my business. Another one was onlinepresenceperspectives.com. And in both cases, I am winding those up and not pursuing those. In fact, I have already offloaded the Online Presence Perspective site to another person who is building on it. And I have started moving the material from Website to Wealth to my Wizard's Place website. And so I'm doing exactly that. I'm converting from Website to Wealth to Wizard's Place, an established site. I am redirecting all of the pages from Website to Wealth to Wizard's Place, to the appropriate pages. In many cases, it's the same content that I'm migrating over. And so the SEO will follow, and Google will follow those redirect links, and they only have to follow it once. They will update their registry and their indexing to match those new pages. So that's why you want to do this for the indexing. And then for anybody who has linked to any of my pages, automatically those links will now redirect without having to go out there in the world. And any promotion that I've done on social media or anywhere else that links into from Website to Wealth, I don't have to seek all that out and change links, those will automatically now redirect through to to the new location. So that's a good reason for doing that. Amnon has arrived, and Payush has arrived. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. We're talking right now about inbound marketing, which I'm going to wrap up in just a minute, and I want to get on to another topic. The last things that are covered in this at the moment is that you can manage your email settings and send custom emails, both HTML and text emails. And you can create site meta for Facebook, Google, Twitter cards, and your meta description, so that when you post a link to one of your pages, you know the problem you've had, I'm sure everybody's experienced it at least once. You've got a blog post that you want to share on Facebook, and you post it, and then it comes up with the wrong picture. Sometimes it comes up with a list of the pictures that are available, and you can pick the one you want. And sometimes it just gives you a picture, and it's the wrong one, and you can't change it. Well, you can, but it's difficult. So that's a frustration for some people. And many of the SEO plugins actually allow you to set the image that you want to go there. Setting the featured image in WordPress will help, and you'll usually get the featured image, but not always. And this now allows you to actually set that image that you want to go for that. So that's good. Christopher, you joined us. Welcome. Glad to have you here. We're just wrapping up the inbound brew. My rating on that at this point is that it's pretty good, and we should certainly consider it and follow it through and watch it as we go forward. I think people are going to find that it is a very good choice. And I'm going to leave it at that and follow up again probably next week with some more information on it, because it is a little bit deep, and we want to be sure that for myself, I want to get the experience on it anyway, because it's new to me. And I'm not going to be able to recommend it and comment on it without getting into deeper. And that has been Inbound Brew. It's called. It's a plugin, buddy. And if you scroll up in the chat there, you'll find 3 links that I provided up further. They're one after another, pretty obvious. 3 of them in a row, which is the WordPress repository link for the plugin, the website for the plugin, and the blog from the people that create the plugin. So a good place to dig in and get some more information. I really recommend that everybody take a look at that if you use, if you're comfortable with working on your own website and you use plugins. And if not, ask your web guy to take a look at it and see what he thinks. I think it's certainly worth the look. I'm going to be using it on some of my own sites to get started, and once I'm satisfied with it, I'll probably, at this point, it's a solid probably, what a friend of mine used to say, a definite maybe, that I'll be using it on client sites as well. It really looks good. I'm very pleased with it. I've just posted my own email address and the link to wizardsplace.com, my website, for anybody who wants that. We have some new people with us today, and welcome everybody. Glad to have you all with us. And I'm going to go off script a little bit here. I was going to talk about social marketing content, and I'm going to push that out to next Wednesday. So if there's anybody here who really was absolutely, coming here for nothing else other than the social media content aspects of it, I apologize. If you want to post your email address in the side and say, content or something, so I know, I'll be sure to contact you specifically for next week. But I want to switch, because I want to go into an area that I think is a little bit kind of underinterpreted, understood. Is that a possibility? And first, let me, when I started off and did the front end stuff, I started on time today for a change, and Cindy was the first person to arrive shortly after I got started, And I didn't go through the usual maintenance and housekeeping stuff, so I'm just going to kind of jump in with a couple things here first. And the first area that I want to talk about is posting questions in the sidebar. Some of you may not know, but if you put a / and a letter Q, a space, and then your question, it'll pop up with the little Q in the blue circle there that you can see in the one I've just posted. That helps me spot that better. I encourage everybody to chit-chat in the sidebar, talk about whatever you want. That's okay. Hopefully it has something to do with what I'm talking about, that this is interesting enough, and that's good. But if you post in the sidebar for my attention, if you put the /Q in the front of what you're posting, that will help me spot it with the Q, because there's a lot of stuff goes back and forth, and I get talking about stuff and don't always see it. So please do that. And yes, good, Cindy. Cindy's my co-host, helps out with stuff here and tracks of things, and she gets answers to questions in there sometimes before I get them. And here she was just sharing the same thing for it. I type faster. Actually, I copied and pasted it, so I had an edge. But it's worth looking at. If you're going to post a question, do it that way. It helps me see it. I also share a Facebook group each week. First, before I do that, though, I want to give you the important question of the day. It's something I'm going to start doing, sharing an important question for you to think about. How would you know if Esther Williams actually left you a charitable donation of $450 million for you to disperse as you choose? How would you know? Anyway, here's the Facebook group that I'm going to recommend today. It's Facebook WordPress memberships. WP memberships is the link for the group. Facebook.com/groups/WP memberships. Anybody who's into memberships, wants to use memberships, has been thinking about it, good group to post specific questions or get involved in some of the chat. It's a small group. I think it's under 300 people. So you're not, and it although it does allow advertising, including affiliates, you won't be overwhelmed with a stream that's moving so fast you can't keep up with it. It's a small and a good group. I also post a recommended blog, and for anybody doing SEO, this is kind of the godfather of SEO blogs. It's the Moz.com. It used to be called SEO Moz. They focused exclusively on SEO, but they're doing a few other things now too. And it's the ultimate choice of people who are seriously into SEO to get the true story. And I think it's worth having a look if you're doing any SEO. I also post usually a free book. And this is the one that I'm going to post today, and I see I haven't shortened the URL. Okay, I'm going to try posting it with the long URL and see if it doesn't break up badly, and I can fix it here. Oh yeah, okay, so let me just give me a moment and I'll get this thing fixed up a little bit. That was okay, and that looks good. All right, let's try that and see if that link works. That's no, it looks like I've dropped the bottom part of it, perhaps. Let me try again here. Somebody try that link and see if it works. I think it's only highlighting the first part of it, though, so it probably won't. Let's try this again. There we go. There's the whole thing. On sort of the same topic as the blog post, that is a book. It's free on Amazon today, and it's called The New SEO Optimization Strategy for 2016. I'm not sure that there's all that much really new for 2016 in SEO. There's some perhaps new interpretations and some new things in the algorithms, but a lot of times people are looking for new stuff just because they want to be able to promote some new approach to SEO. All of the good reliable old methods, the honest methods, work. And so, if you're doing the basic stuff, you don't need to worry about any of the high-end things. And if you get to a point where you get onto the second page and you can't get to the first page, or you get onto the first page and you're in spot 9 and you can't do any better, Dr. Corey, welcome. Don't go away. If you do that, you'll find that then you need some of those really important areas to move yourself up in those 10 spots on the first page. But mostly you can get to the first page for any reasonable keywords without getting into too much depth. But for those who want to take a little further look at it, that is actually a good choice. Let me share the where you can get the Kindle app. If you don't have a Kindle and you want to read a Kindle book, that is a Kindle book. You can get an app for any of your devices at that link, so that's good. Dr. Corey didn't stay. Okay. I was going to invite him in later, but he's gone before I can speak to him, so that's okay. I want to sort of switch gears right now. Is there anybody here who is using or has used the products from Thrive Themes? I want to talk about those a little bit going forward today. And so anybody here, just want to put a yes. Okay, a little for Chris. Anybody else, a yes, or some degree of involvement with Thrive's Themes at all? I don't usually take this approach to something. I usually only talk about things when I actually support them to some way or another. And I've really got kind of mixed emotions about this particular product. So, but I've heard about it several times in the last 2 weeks. And in fact, on Monday, I heard about it 3 times, and just on Monday alone. So I think it's something that needs to be addressed, because they are doing a major push. They have a number of people sharing their stuff around, and they've got a lot of excited users. And as a result, they are kind of going out there and pushing the limits on it. Anyway, there is the link to and my original question, to Thrive Themes. So you can follow that link if you want to see the themes and what they offer. They offer a theme package that includes plugins, and they call it a WordPress theme and WordPress plugins, and you can sign up with them for $19 a month. However, it's paid annually in advance. So it's about, what's that, about $240 a year, $218 a year, I guess. And if you're a developer, you can sign up for $49 a month paid annually, and you can resell their themes to your clients and all that kind of stuff. So it's not cheap, and it's an ongoing fee. Now, I want to share some other things about that, and I'm going to let you be the judge. This is a post, a blog post. It comes from last October, so some things have changed. I looked over his site, and I don't see any particular change from him. But probably some things have changed since he wrote this. But it's a very brutal post. He even uses the word brutal in the title of the post. And Brian Kinsvetter is a both outspoken and long-time blogger. He's been around. He knows his stuff. I've seen his stuff many, many times, and he's not very often, in my opinion, not very often wrong at all. So this is worth reading about this product. It's pretty negative, and I'm not going to post a negative thing without also, I went out and I searched around, and I found a positive post. And I don't really know this guy, so I can't say, but I wanted to be able to find something that was positive. He seems to speak to a lot of other issues fairly well, so I take him at his word. And he sees the upside of the product, so there's a positive post to compare. And he's living in Europe, so he's closer to where the people are that produce Thrive. They're out of a formerly Eastern Bloc country in Europe. You can get that information from the Kinsvetter post. He talks about their corporate location and where they're actually operating out of, which are two different things. And you can deal with that as you please. And then I'm going to post a third item here that I think is worth reading. And this is from Kimberly Castleberry. I don't know how many of you may know her. She's again a long-time blog poster. I think she's been around probably more than 5 years anyway, in the WordPress marketplace, and that's a pretty impressive time for anybody. She's a marketer, a very good marketer, a well-known marketer, and a coach, and a WordPress advocate. And this is a post not particularly on Thrive themes, although it does mention Thrive themes, but it's her position on the GPL license for WordPress. And I applaud her for making that post. I've actually shared it around a few places since I discovered it. And it's a very recent post. And it's an amazing position that she's taking. And I think more of us should actually read that and understand what's going on. Now, I want to post one final post here. This is one of my own, has nothing to do with Thrive and everything to do with Thrive. It's my position on GPL, a little more factual information rather than my position. It's my sharing on GPL. And I want to share something because there's a lot of public opinion about GPL, and especially when people create premium products. I read a post from a fellow today who was saying, is there any way around a GPL? I've written a plugin, a premium plugin for WordPress, and before I market it, I want to find a better way to protect it. Is there any way around the GPL? Well, that's a complete misunderstanding of the whole WordPress community, and he really shouldn't be creating plugins for WordPress. It's a little bit like you're going to create a new car. You're going to build a car in your garage, maybe fiberglass body and molds and put it together and come up with some new idea, and maybe purchase the engine from an auto supply shop and put it all together. And now you've got this car, and you say, well, I want to sell this car. I want to market it through the busy dealerships here in town. How come I can't get into the dealership with my car? What's the deal? Or maybe a more exact example would be that you're an amateur chef, and you've come up with a side order that just goes perfectly with the Big Mac. It's just the right thing to eat with the Big Mac. Every time you bring Big Macs home and serve your side order with it, the whole family's going, wow. And if you have friends over, they can't believe it, and you take some of it with you and you go to McDonald's and buy some Big Macs and share them with your friends in the car, and they can't believe it. Wow, this is fantastic. So you think, hey, it's only really good when the Big Macs are hot, so I really should sell it. McDonald's isn't interested in it. It's not something they want to carry, but I really should sell it right there at McDonald's so people can buy their Big Macs and can buy my my side order for it. So I want to set up a little stand right by their drive-through speakers when people are placing orders so that I can offer them the side order, and McDonald's throws you off their property. Is that fair? This guy's in business with his side order. He should be allowed to sell it to people who are buying Big Macs. Or he sets up on the sidewalk then just outside of McDonald's, and the police come and take him away because he doesn't have a license to be there. So what's the deal with this? Well, that's the way things are done. You have to follow the rules. And WordPress has a license. It's licensed under a license called GPL. It's not WordPress's license. It's the process they've chosen to use. It's an independent organization that has put GPL together, and many, many, many products are licensed under GPL. And in a nutshell, what GPL does is it gives you the copyright for your product. You own the copyright. It's not putting it into the public domain or that sort of thing, but you can distribute it freely. You can give it away for free, or you can sell it as a premium product and cover it under the GPL, but people have access to it. The thing is, one, you must provide the source code along with it, and two, people can re-engineer that source code and resell it as their own. Hopefully they'll give you credit for the original. They can also take that product exactly the way it is out of the box, and they can distribute that product further on. Even if it was a premium product, they can give it away for free or they can resell it. That, in a nutshell, is the interpretation of the GPL. Now, people have tried to get around that in different ways, especially the people producing premium products. You know, WordPress is free. People say, oh, well, those free stuff is no good. Well, if you've got any issue with a premium theme situation, there's no issue at all, because if free stuff is no good, then why are you making a theme for WordPress, since WordPress is free? Or if you're standing up for the right of people to sell their products, and you think that that's being infringed upon because other people can give those themes away down the road, then again, you have to look at the WordPress and the GPL licensing and see what it says. And one of the other things it says is that any products that interface with a GPL product must be covered under the GPL license. So when you build a theme or a plugin, those things actually interface into WordPress. They use what are called system calls into the WordPress code, and they could not function, generally could not function, without being part of WordPress, and therefore they must be covered under the GPL. There's been some major lawsuits over that both ways. Automatic, the people that own WordPress, have sued under their copyright to go after people who are not issuing their themes and plugins under the GPL, and vice versa. People issuing premium themes who haven't wanted to use the GPL have sued WordPress. And so far, WordPress has won every time. There's still a legal argument going on. There's some lawyers that say, no, WordPress has got it wrong. The courts have got it wrong. Well, they're usually lawyers that have been hired by the people on the other side, in my experience anyway. And so I'm kind of, surprised. But the whole thing here is that perhaps some people, the small guy working on his computer at night from his home who creates a plugin because it's fairly easy to do, he may not have done his research, his homework, and looked at the GNU, GPL, or General Public License. And so, he may not have actually figured it out, and he may be working in a vacuum. That doesn't make it right, but it certainly means that he hasn't figured it out yet, and so somebody can point him on the right direction. But the big companies that are producing products and selling them, and they've looked into WordPress and all the stuff they need to do to interface with it and so on, they know what's going on, and they know they're trying to get around the GPL. And Kimberly's post there that I linked to is a real positive affirmation of the GPL and what she's doing to get the non-GPL stuff out of her life. And I think that's a good approach. You should read that, folks. But Thrive Themes is taking a different way, and I'm honestly not convinced one way or the other here. They're writing codes, and they're creating products that they are calling, hey, Michael, welcome, glad to see you there. And Creatives Link, if you're still here, perhaps not. But the Thrive Themes people are writing code and creating product that really aren't WordPress themes or WordPress plugins. They are creating separate things that appear not to actually interface into WordPress in the way that themes and plugins normally do. And one of the reasons their plugins work with their themes only is because of the way they work. And they claim that they are exempt from the GPL because they're not making system calls into WordPress libraries themselves. I don't know that to be true, and I haven't dug into it far enough yet, but I've heard several people who've told me that, because that's what they were told, and some of them were told by Thrive themselves. I've looked on the Thrive site. I can find no indication of GPL in their product. I've talked to a couple of people who have used Thrive and have the themes installed, and they looked for me, and there is no GPL with them. Part of the GPL is that it is to be packaged with the products, and so they haven't done that. And so I'm a little concerned about that, and cannot recommend the Thrive theme products for that reason alone, as something to use. And there really is a lot of hype going around about them, and I'm not getting on that hype bandwagon. But the other reason that I can't recommend them, and I think anybody considering using Thrive, and I use that as an example, there's several other products out there. I mentioned this when talking about the page designer plugins before, and you really want to be careful about things for your WordPress setup that are critical to the running of your setup. And if a theme isn't critical, then I don't know what is. And key plugins. You want to be careful that you can keep using them. And I quoted the prices per month, paid on an annual basis. To get the updates for your product, you got to keep signed up and paying that fee. That's an awful lot of money. It's a good marketing model to have monthly or annual fees, but it's kind of lousy for the receiver end of it, the user end of it, I should say, the website owner, if he has to keep paying those things in order to get the updates for a theme that has to be updated because WordPress has changed. And this is really a big problem when something is working with WordPress but not interfacing properly with it. Those libraries in WordPress are thought out ahead of time, and they very seldom change. So while you may want new features that are added on with a WordPress update, you don't necessarily have to update your theme or plugin because it will continue to work with the libraries as they are. Unless there's a security issue, you may not ever have to change a theme. But when they're working on top of WordPress, then many of the things that WordPress will do and the ways they will do them will certainly affect how that product interfaces with it. The other thing, of course, I would be concerned about, if you read the brutal post that I did, you will realize that the company is hosted in an offshore location, Gibraltar to be exact, in an address that is used by multiple companies who are hosting offshore. Usually that indicates that there's something a little nefarious about it. You're paying your money regularly to a company, but your money's going to an former Eastern Bloc country, a couple of guys working there, but the corporate registration is down in Gibraltar. So if you need to sue anybody to get your money back, it might be difficult. And if WordPress needs to sue anybody over copyright infringement issues, that might be difficult too. So you kind of wonder a little bit. I'm not saying these guys are doing anything wrong, but in my own experience in the real world, it doesn't sit right with me the way it's being done. And so I can't recommend their products. I was asked to recommend them by a couple of people yesterday, and several people on Monday extolled the praises. How good they were, how easy they were to use. And I guess if easy is what it takes to get $20 a month out of your pocket, then easy is a good thing. So I just want to pass that along about this, because I'm seeing this thing pop up all kinds of places, and they're garnering cheerleaders with pom-poms all over the place. So when you come up head-to-head with it, ask yourself the right questions before you jump in. Now, look, if you want to jump in and you think it's $20 well spent or $50 well spent a month, and the product is going to do what you need to be done, that's your choice, and go ahead. But I wanted to cover this first with these other opinions, and I did search quite extensively. I found what I could find as the worst opinion, the brutal post, the best opinion from the Aussie guy in Switzerland, and the middle ground from Kimberly about her approach on GPL. I think I've covered the package fairly objectively and honestly. I am giving my own opinion that I choose not to use the product, but that's up to you. And Michael says that some themes might be duplicating the work within the theme, not using WordPress's functions, and that's the indicator of a bad theme design. WordPress has a number of built-in libraries, and I often see people asking about the error, header cannot be resent. There's a variety of errors that include that statement that have to do when the page is loading. And the way WordPress works, it loads different files. And sometimes the functions have to be loaded and then the pages are loaded. There is an easy answer for that error that happens when people code their page wrong, especially when amateur coders edit a PHP file and get a blank line or a blank space where it doesn't belong. And that's just a typo that can be fixed easily. But there are also other areas that have to do with libraries that can cause that error. And it happens with some frequency with badly written products. And it doesn't always happen right away. You can install a theme and it's working fine, or you install a plugin and it's working fine. And then a series of circumstances interact with each other from other plugins and other themes, or from the core itself, that cause something to happen in a way that the coder didn't anticipate and didn't deal with properly, and we get this error. So it is a serious issue for why you want to use reliably sourced products and ones that play by the rules, where the coders have actually figured out what they need to do, especially by reading the WordPress Codex, which is open publicly and contains everything they need to know to do it right. Cindy says it doesn't make sense to her to pay an annual fee, especially when there's no discount for paying the full year. Yeah, what they've just done is they've taken their yearly price and divided it by 12 to show you the price per month. So there's no higher monthly fee actually available to pay it monthly. They don't offer a monthly fee, but for advertising purposes, it sure looks better to see it as the $19 a month rather than $218 a year. But yeah, that's a lot of money to pay for any service online. You have to be really, really serious. The new webinar software that just came out, Webinar Geo, Webinar GEO, which I think is the cat's meow, is $297 a month right now for its introduction price, and it'll be $497 in about a week and a half. It's an awesome product, and it's well priced when you consider that the nearest good competitor for it is about $1,000 a month for a basic package, which gives you about $1,000 a year for a basic package, which gives you up to 100 users on your webinar. And this is $297 a year for a complex package, one that gives you all of the features and unlimited users on your site. $295 a year, that's not a bad deal. I know the people that have made it. I've used a couple of their products over the past couple of years and been very impressed with them. And I'm really looking forward to using this for webinars. So it is, not unheard of to pay hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars a year for products. But for a theme and a handful of plugins, most of which are available either for free or for a small one-time price under $100. You could probably do all of the things that their package does for $100 or less with premium products, and I can't see anything that they offer that I can't do with free products. So I'm not sure why it's a good deal to buy their products. They do say that you can get it all in one source. You don't have to manage a lot of plugins because their plugins reduce the number of other plugins you need. But they also say elsewhere on their site that they're going to be adding new features and new plugins going forward. So you're going to build up a number of plugins to manage anyway. And I just went over a free plugin that reduced, in my case, I would install this one plugin, and if it all works as I feel it will, I'll be able to uninstall 5 plugins that I regularly use. So, and one of those 5 I'll have to install on new sites through a training period, perhaps. But hey, that's a pretty good trade-off there, and that's a free plugin. So I don't know. It's up to you. It's a product. It's another commercial product being offered. There's fast food restaurants that I don't go to because I don't like their food. That's my choice, and it's my choice here not to use this particular product. But I wanted to share with you some of the thoughts on it, just because of the hype that's going around. And I use that word hype loosely. Some of it might be information going around, and it may be legitimate. So check it out yourself, but go in with your eyes open and be careful. It's one of those things that might turn out to be okay, and it might get blown out of the water. Now that it's getting some traction, and it's certainly going to have the attention of WordPress and Automatic, they'll be looking at it pretty thoroughly, and it could, in fact, just disappear. So prepaying for a year's worth of service on something that might not be there a year from now, I'd be concerned about that too. Yeah, it's certainly why you want to consider a variety of things in here. Christopher, welcome. I'm glad to have you into the chat here today. We've run over time. I'm still recording though. If you let me know when you come in, if you
Steve,
want to be on record or not.
That's fine. Hey, yeah, I've used Thrive. Not really knocked out. You're absolutely right. There are a bunch of plugin level features that it gives you in the theme itself. It reminds me of these guys that find these partially written programs on GitHub, give a programmer money to finish the program, market it under their name, and then sell it like it's some kind of new, incredible, unbelievable creation that nobody has ever thought about before. There's hundreds of things like this out there, I just was not impressed with what it delivered. To be quite honest with you, any website company that is bragging about a landing page, you need to run in the other direction as fast as you possibly can, because that is technology from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, landing page. So if their big claim to fame is come to use Thrive themes because it's going to allow you to make a landing page real easily, just get out a hammer and smack yourself in the head, because you don't need that. You don't need it. And the thing is, you see every feature that they talk about on the Thrive thing are 10-year-old features, not 10-year-old, but we'll say pre or post WordPress 4 features, because I really didn't pick up WordPress until we went to the 3 versions.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was pretty sketchy at best, but once it got into their 3 versions, now WordPress started picking up some steam. And you've got all these companies from ClickBank that have these. They do the same exact thing that this Thrive theme does for $35 or $40, and it's just one of those things. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you are right. There are a lot of heavy hitters that are out there saying, "Oh yeah, come and see this." Too bad you can't go to their site and see whether they're using the free version of Thrive or the paid version of Thrive. That would be the thing. If somebody's recommending that I use Thrive, be it Mike from Maine or anybody else that's out there that recommends that you use Thrive themes, and they offer you a wonderful little affiliate link so you can be just as cool as they are. Really, it's ridiculous. It honestly is.
I absolutely agree with your interpretation of it, and it applies to a wide variety of things. I'm a big advocate of PLR, private label rights products, and I've noticed that there's a number of there's a couple of dozen really good PLR providers that are in the business. They've been in the business for some time. A lot of them are ghostwriters that write quality content for one person. Some good stuff. And I see a lot of the affiliate marketer providers, okay, not necessarily the affiliate marketers themselves, but the people who traditionally create lower quality material to flog out to their affiliate list, who will then resell it. And they've been jumping on the PLR market, so that it's a big market now. It's suddenly taken off. People like me advocating it have caused other people to look at it, and it's suddenly taken off. Maybe we should have kept our mouths shut and just kept it for us, but it's too good not to share. But anyway, these guys are all jumping on it, producing a lot of low-end material and flogging it out there, and there's armies of affiliate marketers putting them out. And I see in the last little while a number of companies are doing just what you said. They're creating plugins that they're marketing to their affiliate people or their remarketers, not just affiliates, but they're selling, and this is the catchword. You'll see a lot of places that say, and you get 100% of the profits. You get this $4,000 package for $9.97, or special introductory price of $7. But add it up, all the components, it's $4,000. You get it for $7, and then you can resell it and keep 100% of the profits. That should be where your alarm bells go off, and you look at it and you see what's there. But with plugins especially, who the heck is going to be doing the upgrades on those plugins to keep them current with WordPress? You're going to sell a bunch of them to clients, and even if they're just people buying plugins, they still are your customers. And when they come back later and say, well, WordPress is updated 3 times and the plugin isn't working, where do I get the updates? And you say, I don't know. It's not going to do a whole lot for your deal. Corey, you're back. I think, Dr. Corey. Jump into a seat. Glad to have you in. Look, I'm going to turn the recording off now. We're past the hour.